Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to the Market Outlook series. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. So pretty much today we will just do a forecast on some of the pairs that we'll be monitoring over the week. And pretty much just to sum up this week, this week was kind of slow for me because I only had one trade and it actually was a break-even trade on Aussie dollar. And I was actually managing two pairs, which was EUR-USD and Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar ended up being a break-even trade. Pretty much my criteria, they were not met on both pairs. So I only had one trade, break even, and it is what it is. That's how the markets, be sometimes. Sometimes you have a lot of setups. Some weeks no setup, right? But I'm kind of looking forward for the weeks ahead because usually, from the past couple of years, what I've seen is that Euro-USD and Aussie dollar, they usually provide around, by the end of November and December, usually they really do good. So I'm kind of looking forward for the next, for the weeks ahead, right? So let's just start the outlook with Euro-USD as usual, right? I have the vintage source right here because they actually have more data than Owenda. Actually, we use Owenda. So I'm here on the vintage Euro-USD. This is the yearly time frame. As we can see on Euro-USD, we can clearly see that we have this clean bullish structure right here, right? Series of high highs and higher lows. We just now recently had this yearly bullish POI mitigation right here. And we can clearly see that, when you ask yourself, okay, what is my bias for my yearly time frame? We can clearly see that your bias is bullish right here, right? We have price pretty much just broke structure. We had a successful retrace, second break. Now we have in the mitigation. So our expectation or the flow is to see price actually mitigating and continue to move to the upside to take out the previous high, right? To continue pretty much just to keep that bullish of the flow intact, right? So from the yearly time frame, we're now having this bullish yearly POI mitigation, okay? So let's drop down to the weekly time frame, right? So right now we're on the weekly, right? Especially when it comes to yearly point of interest, what I like to see is at least a weekly change of character, right? So if you read structure, right, we can clearly see that we had the structure low, a high, then we had structure low, high, a low, a high, and then a structure low, right? So if I want to buy, right, what are the conflicts that I need to see? What's the first thing I need to see? From the weekly time frame, I want to see a change of character, pretty much just to give me that first sign of bullish intention. So we can clearly see that on the weekly time frame, we had this previous structure high. It was broken right here. We had this first reaction at the previous supply zone. Then we had a pullback, and now we have this nice order block to trade from. So pretty much we just waited for price to come back and then push to the upside, right? So let's look at this from a year, from the daily time frame, right? So let me just a moment. Okay, let me just bring price back to the daily time frame. So we can clearly see that on the daily time frame, we just had a change of character right here. We had a previous supply reaction, right? Because this actually was the strong high because he had taken liquidity from the previous high, then went on to take this swing structure low right here. So this right here was the supply, the extreme supply. So we can clearly see is that what we wanted to see pretty much is price reacting here and continue to move to the downside, right? Pretty much to keep the bearish order flow. But what happened is that we had price actually reacted perfectly, but then there was no follow through. Price actually failed to take out this previous daily lows right here sitting below. So what happened is that we didn't have a follow through. So that means that this high failed to take out the low. So it's weak. Price actually grabbed, pushed to the upside. Now this is what some people call supply to demand flip, right? Where we have the reaction, a pullback, and then we have a violation. Now we have 2 points of interest right here. We have this one, which was the decisional down candle before the up move, right? And we can clearly see that there is a ton of imbalances sitting below. So this is just another confluence as to why price needs to pull back, right? And also we have this at the extreme right here at the bottom because also it has imbalances, and that's pretty much where was the catalyst move that went on to take this daily previous high. Okay, so pretty much I have in mind these 2 points of interest. Let me just mark this one up right here. So we have this one, which is another point of interest that we'll be looking for. So we have conferences, which is imbalance. We had a huge momentum, right, that pushed to the upside, and pretty much it just left tons of imbalances right here, right? And now what we're actually waiting for is to see price actually pulling back, correcting this imbalance sitting below, and then could probably continue to move to the upside, right? So if you look at it from the what we have done so far is that we have gone from the yearly time frame. We looked at the yearly, we saw that, okay, now we're having a yearly bullish PRM mitigation. So then we dropped down to the weekly time frame. We wanted to see a change of character. We had a change of character right now. Now we're on the daily, pretty much just to look at the point of interest that price is more likely to react at. So we have two, which is this one right here. And the reason why I really like this one is because if we drop down to 4-hour time frame, we can see that price actually grab liquidity and then push to the upside. So usually when it comes to order blocks, I like to see these conferences on order block. They have to break structure. I mean, they have to grab liquidity and then go on to break structure. So this gives a reason as to why price needs to come down to this point of interest and push to the upside. Okay, so this right here is a very valid point of interest to keep in mind right here on EUR-USD. And now, what I'm looking for is this right here. We know that this is the daily push to the upside. So this pretty much is the daily leg. So when it comes to daily, I want to see a sign that will tell me that, okay, daily is ready to do a pullback towards this point of interest and probably continue to the upside. But what are the conferences that I need to see? When it comes to daily ranges, right? Let me just give an example right here. So when we have a daily break of structure to the upside and you have the order block right here, we want to know, okay, what is the sign that is going to, what do I need to see as a signal that, okay, daily is ready to do a pullback towards this point of interest below and continue to move to the upside. So what I want to see usually when it comes to daily break of structure, especially daily range high and low, I want to see an hourly change of character, right? So I want to see price breaking structure, coming back. So this is a nice opportunity for me to counter trends, right? Pretty much just to ride that better shoulder flow towards this daily point of interest, and then we continue the move to the upside, right? So in this, that's exactly what we're seeing in this scenario. We just had this bullish daily leg, right? We just had this daily leg. Now what I'm waiting for is I'm dropping down to the hourly time frame. Let's use the 2 hours, right? What I want to look for is the hourly change of character. That would be a signal that, okay, price is ready to drop. So if you look at it, what we had right here is that we had the structure high, we had the structure low, and then we had the structure high. This is how you mark your swing structures, okay? That's your swing structure. So pretty much the range, right? This is our hourly range low, hourly range high. Anything that is happening inside this range is just internal structure price action. So when I look at it here right now, what I'm seeing is that the hourly is still bullish. But there is one thing that we can see is that, okay, we had the structure high, we had the low, then we had this high. Then price made this low, pretty much was a extreme point of interest mitigation. So the job of this low was pretty much to continue the move to the upside and take out the previous hourly high. What happened? We had a failure right here. Pretty much this was the bullish sentiment depleting at this particular moment. So we had a high reluctancy. And now what we're seeing is that we had a change of character right here. We're having a mitigation, and probably we're just seeing these lows about to be liquidated very soon. And then we have an hourly change of character to the downside. Okay, so pretty much that's how we make sense of a setup from a higher time frame perspective. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for a EUR-USD for the next week. I'm seeing that, okay, price now just respected this supply zone. I'm looking to see price grabbing this week lows right here, this one, and this swing one right here, right? This is just the swing week low that I'm waiting to see price mitigating, which is going to provide us an hourly change of character inside the daily range, okay? And then I can sell pretty much just to ride that better shoulder flow towards our daily point of interest sitting below. And then we have a continuation to the upside, right? So that's the outlook that I have for EUR-USD. Let's move to another pair. When it comes to Aussie dollar, we can start from the monthly time frame, right? We don't need to go any further than that. We can just start from the monthly time frame. If you ask yourself, okay, what is the structure right now on the monthly time frame? Just pretty much mark your swing points, right? We have the low, then we have this high, and then we have this low. So pretty much we just had this extreme order block mitigation. And then what we're expecting is that, okay, this is a weak low because it failed to take out the high, so it's weak, it's bound to be liquidated. So we just had the mitigation and price started to drop. We're expecting price to take out this weak low right here, right? So that's pretty much the outlook from the monthly is that, okay, the monthly is still bearish. So we drop down to the weekly time frame. And what we just had is that, okay, we just had this order block right here, which was the last down candle before the up move. We can see that there was imbalances left right here, right? And we can see that this actually was the last down candle that was responsible for creating this internal change of character right here, right to the upside. Okay, pretty much that was the first signal that, okay, the monthly is ready to do a pullback towards the extreme order block right here, right? So now price just reacting, is having a reaction to this bullish order block. And what we can see is that when you look at the weekly time frame right here at the right, you ask yourself, okay, what is the structure right now? Is it bullish or bearish? We can see that it's bearish. We had the low, high, then we had the low, the high, the low, then this high, and then we had this strong push to the downside that created this swing low. So right now on the weekly time frame, the structure is still bearish. Okay, so in order for me to change my bias from a long-term perspective, I need to see price taking out this weekly previous high, give us that weekly change of character, and then we're bullish long-term. Okay, so right now, as of now, from the higher time frame perspective, Aussie dollar is bearish on the weekly time frame. So we can drop down to the daily time frame. Now, what happened is that on the weekly POI mitigation, right, what we had was a daily change of character, very clean right here. We can see that we had the swing low, swing high, and then we had the low. Right here, we had the change of character right here. First break of structure, first sign of bullish intention, pretty much just that pullback, right, on the weekly. So price just broke structure. We have two order blocks right here. We have this one right here, and we can pretty much say, okay, we have this one at the extreme, but I'll go for this one because we had the liquidity sweep. I think we can pretty much see this on the 4-hour. Let me just drop down to 4-hour time frame. Absolutely, as we can see, is that price actually had grabbed liquidity from this structure, previous structure low right here, and then immediately pushed to the upside. So that means that institution sold first, then they bought, so they need to come back, close this sell position that was left previously in drawdown. Okay, so that's just the mitigation concept right there. So I'm waiting to see if price is going to pull back all the way down here. So because this is the daily, this is that daily leg, what I want to see is an hourly change of character. All right. So if I drop down to the hourly time frame, just a second, right here. So if we look at the hourly time frame, we can see that, okay, we had the structure high, we had the structure low, high, the low, and then we have this high. So in order for me to see that pullback from the daily, I need to see hourly change of character. That's what we had right here. We had a change of character. And then we had, right now we're just having a mitigation of this supply zone right here, right? So what we're expecting is this low to be taken, right? And probably I'm looking to see some sort of reaction in this order block, or probably price will violate them and correct the imbalance sitting below. So that's pretty much the outlook that I have so far on Aussie dollar, right? So I'm just waiting to see a reaction of either this point of interest right here or at the daily POI sitting below, all right? So that's it for you, or for Aussie dollar. Let's move to another pair. We can start from the monthly time frame. And if we look at the monthly time frame, we can clearly see that GU is heavily bearish, right? We just had this previous structure low, high, and then we had this low. We had a mitigation right here that provided us an invalidation point. And then we had the second break of structure, right? So for me to change my bias long-term, right, I need to see that monthly break of structure right here. Right, I mean, that's what we have to see pretty much just to change our bias from a long-term perspective, right? From bearish to bullish. So far right here from the monthly time frame, we can clearly see that the structure is bearish, right? So let's drop down to the daily time frame, right? So on the daily time frame, if you look at what's going on right here, is that, let me just delete this line. If you look at what's going on, we clearly see that on the daily, we just had this nice, pretty much that's bearish mitigation play right here, all the way down, right? And we had this strong leg right here to the downside, right here, right? And right now we're just having this mitigation of this supply zone right here at the extreme. So for me, pretty much just to change the daily outlook. I mean, if we look at the daily structure, right, we pretty much had this previous structure high and low right here. Then we had a change of character, right? And we can clearly see that it was left a ton of imbalances sitting below. So what I'm waiting for is that, okay, we just had this nice supply reaction. We can clearly see this wick that dropped right here. And now what I'm expecting to see is pretty much price to fill this imbalance sitting below and then probably continue to the upside. That will give us that pretty much just to give us that clean weekly change of character and then a continuation to the upside, right? So if I drop down to the 4-hour time frame, to the hourly time frame, we just had the daily point of interest mitigation. I can come down right here to the hourly time frame. So the question I ask myself is, okay, when it comes to daily point of interest mitigation, what do I need to see, right? Especially when it comes to supply, daily supply mitigation. What do I have to see in order to sell? I have to look for an hourly change of character. So what we saw when we look at the swing structure, we just had the structure high, we had the structure low, structure high. Then we have a mitigation right here. So what I'm expecting to see is, number one, we may have actually GU pushing price to the upside, right? Just to continue that bullish run. Or this can be just the reaction. And then we may have a pullback right here, pretty much just to finalize the demand to supply flip. Then we have that break of structure. And then we can pretty much sell all the way down to correct the daily imbalances sitting below, right? So when I look at what's going on the hourly is still bearish, right? You look at you mark up your range high and low. So this right here is our range high, and we have our range low. So price is still bullish on the hourly time frame. So I need to see an hourly change of character, so then I can sell as a means to correct the imbalances sitting below and probably react to this daily point of interest, and we continue to move to the upside. All right. So that's pretty much what I have for GU. Let's move to another pair. Now, New Zealand dollar, we can start New Zealand dollar from the monthly time frame. And if we look at the monthly time frame from a swing structure perspective, we can see that, okay, we had the structure high, low, then we have this high, then we have this low, right? And this high. Pretty much we can see that, okay, from the monthly time frame, the overall swing structure is bullish, right? Our directional bias is bullish, right? We just had this very nice, this is what we call a strong low. A strong low is a low that actually takes out the low, the previous structure low, and then goes on to take the previous structure high. So we can see that we had this relative equal lows, equal lows. So what happened is that, okay, the institutions, they sold and then they bought immediately. Now they're actually coming back to this point of interest right here, and then we continue to move to the upside, right? So we can see that, okay, from the monthly time frame, our bias has been established. It's bullish, right? So let's drop down to the weekly, to the daily time frame, right? So if we come to the daily time frame and I mark up my swing structures, right, we can clearly see that, okay, we have this structure low, high, and then we had this low, then we have the high right here. And then we have this long leg right here to the downside. So pretty much what I'm expecting to see is price actually reacting at, either these two daily point of interest. And then we have a continuation to the downside to this monthly or the block. And then we have a push to the upside, pretty much just to continue that monthly bullish order flow. Right? So right now we're having this point of interest, this reaction, this previous supply zone right here, and pretty much we can see that, yeah, price actually is having a nice reaction right here. We can see this long wick that dropped soon. Price actually tapped this point of interest. We still have in mind that price is likely to react to this order block at the top right here, because the reason for that is because this right here actually swept liquidity that was sitting here and then engineered the move that went on to take this daily previous low. So it's a very strong point of interest as well that we keep in mind. So right now we're just having this daily point of interest, right? Mitigation. So as you guys know, when it comes to daily POI mitigations, I like to see hourly change of character, right? It can be 4 hour, 2 hour, whichever time frame presents a much cleaner price action, you can go with it, right? So if we read the structure, right, we can see that, okay, we had structure high, structure low, then we have the structure high, and then we had the low. Pretty much this was a mitigation at the extreme, and then we had a push to the upside right here. What happened is that we actually had price failing to close above this previous high right here. Pretty much price just, if I use the line, we can see that, okay, price actually went above the previous high, but it failed to close above. So usually that is a sign that the bullish sentiment in the market is depleting. So we're more likely to see bear stepping in the market, and then we have that change of character on the hourly, right? So pretty much that's what I'm actually waiting for on New Zealand dollar. But also there's a possibility the price can just violate this point of interest to continue to the upside. So we will look to what the price and the structure would tell us, right? There is no reason to try to predict. So what I would love to see is a change of character. So that's our hourly change of character. Then we can sell to correct the imbalances above and probably continue to move to the upside, to the downside, right? Because we still have that monthly order block that was left unmitigated, okay? So right now we can see that, okay, on the hourly time frame, the structure is still bullish. So we need to see that change of character, correct? So that's the outlook that I have for New Zealand dollar. Let's move to another pair. So on USD-CAD, we can clearly see that from the monthly time frame, if we look at the swing structure, right, pretty much price action, just to understand what's going on, you can see, okay, we had the swing high, the low, and then we had this high. Then, okay, price actually came to the extreme, did a mitigation, and then pushed to the upside. The job of this low was pretty much to take out the previous high to continue the bullish order flow. But what happened is that actually we had price failing to go above the previous high. So that means that this monthly low became weak. That's why we had price actually taking that previous low. So we just had a change of character right here on the monthly time frame, that bearish, first sign of bearish intention. Then what I did is that we dropped down to the weekly time frame and actually refined that monthly, because the monthly pretty much was all this zone. But I refined to this weekly point of interest right here, which was the last daily, the last up candle before the down move. We can see the huge momentum that came, and also we have loads of imbalances that it had left. So this was just confluences as to why price needed to come all the way up here. So we just had that nice mitigation, nice reaction. We can see price actually dropping right after that supply mitigation. So usually when it comes to weekly point of interest mitigation, I like to see a daily change of character, or at least a 4 hour or 8 hour change of character, right? So let me just drop down to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, right, if we look at the price action that pretty much pushed price all the way to that weekly supply mitigation, we can see that, okay, we had this nice mitigation player right here. This was just a very pure and clean bullish mitigation play right here, right? And price pushed to the upside. Now, what I'm expecting to see is, okay, we wanted to see a daily change of character. We had right here a nice daily change of character, pull back, second break. Now we're actually seeing the mitigation, pretty much to bring price to this point of interest, and then we will see what's going to happen, right? That is just from the daily time frame perspective. Let me just drop down to the 4 hour so we can see this clear, right? So if I zoom in, right, we can clearly see that, okay, recently we just had this very nice break of structure on the 4 hour time frame right here, right? Price pretty much came at this previous structure high, grabbed liquidity right here, and then it pushed to the upside. So this is what we consider a strong high. It's a high that grabs the previous structure high and then goes on to take the previous structure low. And this is what we had right here. Price took out the high, right? pretty much liquidated and then broke structure impulsively. We can see the huge momentum on the break of structure. Now we have 2 points of interest, right? If I pull up the fib, for example, and I mark the range, right, from the range low, right, from this low all the way to this range high, usually I like to sell anything around 50% of premium level, right? 50% fib or above 50%, which is what we consider the premium level zones, right? So now we just have a price reacting perfectly at this 50% zone right here of this range high and range low right here. So what I'm expecting right here, because this is actually a 4-hour point of interest mitigation, I want to see a clean M15 or M30 change of character so I can look for sales, right? Or if this point of interest gets violated, we may see actually the price coming all the way up here. There is a reason for that because we have huge imbalances right here after this break of structure, right? So if I drop down to the, for example, to the 30 minutes time frame, we can see that, okay, the 30-minute right here hasn't changed anything, right? Even when we had this first tap right here, if you look at the swing structure, we had the high, we had the low, then we had this high, and then price pretty much grabbed the low but failed to close below, right? So that's not something reliable for us to sell from. That's why price ended up taking this previous high. So now we look at the high, we have the low and the high. So the 30-minute is still bullish, right? So there is the sign of bearish intention on the lower time frames, such as M15, M30, hasn't been shown yet. So we want to be absolutely patient to wait for that M15 change of character, and then we can look to sell all the way down to our daily point of interest sitting below, okay, right here. Okay, so if this point of interest gets violated, we also have this one right here, and we will do the exactly same thing because this actually is a 4-hour point of interest. So at 4 hours, we want to look for either M15 or M30 change of character. Okay, so let's move to another pair. So gold, we can clearly look at gold from the weekly time frame, right? We just had this structure high, we had the structure low, then price actually broke structure, we had the clean mitigation, then we had this strong push to the upside. So from a swing structure perspective, on the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that gold is still bullish, right? And now, recently, we just had this mitigation right here at this order block. We now had a nice reaction right here. So as I always say, when it comes to weekly point of interest mitigation, I always like to see a daily change of character, right? So let's drop down to the daily time frame. And we can see that soon price actually tapped the point of interest. We had this very nice change of character right here. Then we had a mitigation, and then we had a second break of structure. So from the daily time frame, the bullish order flow has been established. But now we saw actually something very interesting is that price actually came to this to the extreme of this weekly point of interest, right? If I drop down to the weekly, for the weekly time frame, we can see that, okay, the structure on the weekly swing structure perspective, we have the swing low, we have the swing high, and then we have this low. So from the weekly is still bearish, okay? But on the daily is bullish, right? So right now, what we had is, okay, price just came to the weekly supply zone. What we're expecting to see now is price to drop, and then it breaks. So pretty much my bias on gold from a high time frame perspective, after the monthly point of interest mitigation down below, I want to see that weekly change of character. It's very, very important. That's why I always stress the importance of looking at other time frames, such as the weekly, so you can get your bias right? So you look at the weekly right here from a swing structure perspective, we can see that the weekly is still bearish. But when you come to daily, you can see that bullish order flow. That bullish order flow was pretty much price giving you a signal that the weekly time frame is doing a pullback. So it starts with the change of character, we had a mitigation, then we have the second break, and price just came straight to the weekly point of interest above right here, right? So when it comes to weekly, I mean, this is actually was refined on the daily time frame. So when it is daily time frame, as you guys know, I like to see hourly change of character. So let me drop down to the 2 hours time frame. So if I come to the 2 hours time frame, right? And I try to mark my swing structure, right? Okay, we have the structure high, we had the low. Then this low created a new high right here. Then we had a mitigation right here of this order block. So this was our swing low. Then price actually pushed to the upside right here with this leg, strong leg to the upside. So if we drop down right here, right? Let me just delete this. Let's look at this order block. What happened right here, right? This right here was the order block that was responsible for taking this previous structure high right here. Okay, so this is just a single leg right here to the upside. Looking from the hourly time frame, we just had that push to the upside. Then we had the reaction at the order block, push to the upside. Price actually failed to take out this high and this high. So this low became weak. Price just broke structure. And this pretty much is what we call, some people call it demand to supply flip, is when we have a reaction, a pullback, and then that demand is violated. So now what we're expecting to see is daily gold actually pulling back to this point of interest, and then we see they push to the downside because we have a ton of imbalances sitting below. Okay, so from the hourly time frame, that's what I'll be looking for. We can, because this actually this hourly point of interest is not very, very clean. I would recommend to wait for clean M15 change of character, and then you can take the trade. Okay, so if we look here, for example, let me just mark this one. We can see that, okay, we had this internal structure, the internal break of structure right here. Then we can consider this to be a mitigation right here that provided us an invalidation point. And then we have the second break of structure right there. So we can clearly see that, okay, on the lower time frame, right, the bearish order flow has been established. So what I'm waiting for on gold is to see price actually come in here and then drop to the downside, okay? So that's the outlook that I have on gold. Let's move to another pair. Now, the last pair that we're going to look at is US30, right? I personally don't trade US30, but I have a lot of people, a lot of students that trade US30. So it's a quite interesting pair, actually, to be honest. And if we look at US30 from the monthly time frame, we can see that, okay, we just had the structure high, we had the structure low, then we had this push to the upside, and now we just had this nice monthly point of interest mitigation, right? So price taps our monthly POI. We want to see actually price pushing to the upside. So usually at monthly, I like to see a weekly change of character presented so I can switch, so I can then look for buys, right? So price just pulled back. So we want to look for buys on the lower time frame. So I need to see the weekly turning bearish. So then I can look for sales. So when we drop down to the weekly time frame and we read the structure, right, we can clearly see that, okay, we had the structure low, structure high, then we had the low, then we had the change of character. This caught a lot of people off guard. There are a lot of people that had orders here. They got taken out, right? And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I really don't trust chalk as an entry, right? But it does work. It has its own probabilities, right? But we just had price actually tapping that monthly point of interest below. So right now, when you ask yourself, okay, what is the structure on the weekly time frame? We can see that, okay, we had the low, high, and we have the low, right? So price now is just mitigating this weekly point of interest supply zone right here. This actually is a strong high. And some people actually ask me all the time, what is a strong high? Strong high is a high that is responsible for taking out the previous structure high and goes on to take the structure low. So what we had is that we had the structure high and we had this low. This high took out this previous high right here, right? It liquidated. Then it went on to take out this previous low that got liquidated. So this is a very strong high. That's why we have in a reaction right here, right now. So if I drop down to, for example, to the, this is a month, we can drop down to the daily time frame. It's quite the same thing, right? Pretty much price just came to this extreme daily point of interest. So let me just drop down to the 4-hour time frame, right? So when we look at the 4-hour time frame, we have a nice reaction that happened right here. Now, what I'm looking for is to see the hourly changing, I mean, that hourly change of character to tell me that, okay, price is going to respect this point of interest and is going to continue to push to the downside. That's what I'm waiting for. As of now, the hourly is still bullish. So what I can wait for as an intraday is, okay, we just had this pretty much internal structure high, low. We had this high right here that failed to close above with a body, right? So that means that bullish sentiment was depleting. So we had a break of structure, which was a change of character. Now we're having a mitigation at this point of interest. So this actually is visible on lower time frame. Let me just drop down to the 1 hour time frame. Okay, let me zoom in for you guys to see clearly, right? Is that we had the structure high, we had the low, then price actually gave us this high, but what happened? Price failed to close above. Bullish sentiment depleted. We had a nice change of character. We have price actually coming to the extreme right here, and we're ready to see a drop to the downside. So as an intraday, what I will do only is I will try to find an opportunity on the lower time frame. It can be M15, break of structure. It can be a 3-minute mitigation play, all the way down here, pretty much just to ride the bearish of the flow towards this 4-hour bullish point of interest. And then we will see if price will react from here and push to the upside, pretty much violating the weekly supply zone, or if the 4-hour will be violated, that we have the hourly change of character, right? So that's it, guys, for the outlook that I have for the weeks ahead. I hope I was able to help you guys pretty much with the structure map and everything. And I'll leave a link below, right? Is my public, is the free Telegram group. Pretty much is where I share all the setups, right? So make sure you guys join it. If you guys like the video, smash the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Leave a comment down below, feel free. And all this, I mean, you have my contact on the description of the free Telegram group. So you can always contact me if you want to join the mentorship, or if you want to ask any question, right, regarding to trade. I'm always free for that. So okay, guys, hope you guys have a nice day, and see you guys next time.